Playing with Power MTG. Powerful cards, powerful formats. Before we get into today's game, we wanted to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video, HelloFresh. My schedule is packed this time of year with the holidays. HelloFresh makes it easy to plan out meals. They have a weekly selection of over 30 recipes and over 70 convenience items all delivered to your door. I don't personally like eating the same thing over and over, so I enjoy that I can try new things all the time. HelloFresh has its newest seasonal recipes available to try. The limited edition baking kits are now available for the holidays too. I don't want to spend endless time in the kitchen figuring out recipes. HelloFresh has foolproof, step-by-step recipes so you can enjoy a great meal with less wasted time. Their meals take around 30 minutes or less to put together. I really love how HelloFresh makes a commitment to sustainability. They are the first carbon-neutral meal kit company where nearly all packaging is recyclable. Their ingredients come pre-portioned, meaning less wasted food, while also meaning less meal prep for you. So give HelloFresh a try today. Use my link and go to HelloFresh.com and use the code POGPWPNOV70 for 70% off plus free shipping on your first box. Once you click, my description will live update to count up the purchases. A big thanks to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. Our Mox Masters tournament is back. On Saturday, December 3rd, we will be hosting another webcam CEDH tournament. It is 100% proxy friendly and played in the comfort of your own home. Top 16 gets $60, top 4 gets $200, and the winner gets $500. Spots fill up very quickly, so sign up now and reserve your spot. Link is in the description below. Now, let's start out by showcasing our fighters this evening. First, we have Orin piloting Yennett, Cryptic Sovereign. This deck seeks to cast its commander and flip into very large spells for free off of the top of its library. Orin's opening hand contains an Elesh Norn Grand Cenobite, Trinket Mage, Soul Ring, Scalding Tarn, Emergent Zone, Inventor's Fair, and a Mystic Remora. Next, we have Cal piloting the partner pair of Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator and Tana the Bloodsower. This deck seeks to kill the table with the classic Malcolm Glinthorn Buccaneer combo. Cal's opening hand contains a Wheel of Fortune, Jataxian Probe, Misty Rainforest, Boseiju Who Endures, Mana Vault, and his London Mulligans are Tandem Lookout and Deflecting Swat. After that, we have Jen piloting Godo, Bandit Warlord. This deck seeks to cast Godo, fetch up Helm of the Host, and win with infinite combats. Jen's opening hand contains a Gamble, Lotus Petal, Dwarven Ruins, Snow-Covered Mountain, and her London Mulligans are Arcane Signet, Thunderclap, and Snow-Covered Mountain. Finally, we have Rich piloting the partner pair of Tymna the Weaver and Tana the Bloodsower. This is a stacks deck that seeks to slow down the board before executing a Protean Hulk combo. Rich's opening hand contains a Savannah, Goblin Bombardment, Polluted Delta, Aven Mind Sensor, Gaia's Cradle, Imperial Steel, and his London Mulligan is a Sylvan Tutor. Without further ado, let's kick off this Pale Persistent Perpetuating Panhandle. Orin had the best Emilio Estevez impersonation and gets to start us off. Orin draws a card for turn and plays a Scalding Tarn. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Tundra onto the battlefield. He casts a turn 1 Mystic Remora. Orin passes. Cal draws a card for turn and plays a Misty Rainforest. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Volcanic Island onto the battlefield. He casts a Mana Vault. Remora triggers and Orin draws. Cal ends his turn. Jen draws and starts off her turn by casting Jeweled Lotus. Remora triggers and Orin draws. She plays a Dwarven Ruins into play tapped. Jen passes the turn. Rich draws and plays a Savannah. He casts a Tinderwall. Rich ships the turn to Orin. During his upkeep, Orin lets his Remora die. He draws and plays a Swamp. He casts a Soul Ring. He casts a Trinket Mage. It enters and he fetches up a Mana Crypt into his hand. He casts Mana Crypt. Orin gives the turn to Cal. Cal draws and starts off his turn by paying 2 life to cast Jataxian Probe, targeting Rich. He looks at Rich's hand and draws a card. He plays a Boseiju Who Endures as his land for turn. He casts his commander, Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator. Cal sends it over to Jen. Jen draws and casts Gamble. She fetches up a card into her hand and then randomly discards a Welding Jar. She plays a Snow-Covered Mountain and passes the turn. Rich draws and plays a Polluted Delta. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Bayou onto the battlefield. He casts an Imperial Seal. He fetches up a card onto the top of his library and loses 2 life. Rich passes. During his upkeep, Orin wins his Mana Crypt roll. He draws and plays a Reflecting Pool. He casts his commander, Yennett, Cryptic Sovereign. He moves to combat and attacks Cal with Trinket Mage. Cal takes it and Orin ends his turn. During his draw step, Cal takes a damage from his Mana Vault. He moves to combat and attacks Rich with Malcolm. Rich takes it and Malcolm triggers. Cal creates a treasure and in his second main phase, Cal casts Rhystic Study. In response, Rich flashes in an Aven Mind Sensor. Then Rhystic resolves and Cal gives the turn to Jen. Jen draws and plays a Snow-Covered Mountain. She casts a Lotus Petal, paying the Rhystic tax. She stares angrily at Aven Mind Sensor and passes to Rich. Rich draws and casts a Goblin Bombardment, paying the Rhystic tax. Rich passes. During his upkeep, Orin wins his Mana Crypt roll. He draws and plays an Emergence Zone. He moves to combat and attacks Cal with Trinket Mage and Jen with Yennett. Yennett triggers and Orin reveals a Resculpt, drawing it. Then they both take it, and in his second main phase, Orin casts Time Warp. Rhystic triggers and he pays. In response, Cal casts Fierce Guardianship for its alternate cost, countering Time Warp. With nothing else, Orin passes to Cal. During his draw step, Cal takes a damage from his mana vault. He plays an Arid Mesa for turn. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a Steam Vents into play untapped, paying 2 life. He moves to combat and attacks Jen with Malcolm. Jen takes it, Malcolm triggers, and Cal creates a treasure. All through, Cal ends his turn. Jen draws and plays a Sandstone Needle into play tapped. Jen passes. Rich draws and casts Avacyn's Pilgrim. Rhystic triggers and Cal draws. He plays a Gaia's Cradle for turn. He casts Academy Rector. Rhystic triggers and Cal draws again. In response, Cal casts Delay, countering and exiling Rector with 3 time counters on it. He moves to combat and attacks Jen with Aven Mind Sensor. Jen takes it, and Rich gives the turn to Orin. During his upkeep, Orin wins his Mana Crypt roll. He draws and casts Soothsaying, paying the Rhystic tax. He moves to combat and attacks Jen with Trinket Mage and Cal with Yennett. Yennett triggers, and in response, Orin activates Soothsaying where X equals 5. He looks at and rearranges the top 5 of his library. Then Yennett resolves, and then Orin reveals a Nezahal Primal Tide, casting it for free. Rhystic triggers, and Orin pays. Then they both take it, and in his second main phase, Orin plays an Inventor's Fair. Sitting in a good spot, Orin passes the turn. During his draw step, Cal takes a damage from his mana vault. He plays a Stomping Ground into play untapped, paying 2 life. He casts Snap, targeting Nezahal. Nezahal triggers, and Orin draws. In response, Orin discards 3 cards and activates Nezahal's ability, exiling it until the end of turn. Cal moves to combat and attacks Jen with Malcolm. Jen takes it, Malcolm triggers, and Cal creates a treasure. Finished up, Cal passes. At the end of Cal's turn, Nezahal re-enters the battlefield. Jen draws, takes no actions, and passes. During his upkeep, Rich removes a time counter from Academy Rector. He draws and starts off his turn by casting his commander, Tymna the Weaver. Rhystic triggers, and Cal draws. He moves to combat and attacks Jen with Aven Mind Sensor. Jen takes it, and in his second main phase, he pays a life and draws a card through Tymna. He plays a Windswept Heath for turn. He cracks it, pays a life, and fetches up a plateau onto the battlefield. He casts his other commander, Tana the Bloodsower, paying the Rhystic tax. Finished up, Rich passes. During his upkeep, Orin wins his Mana Crypt roll. Also in his upkeep, he activates Soothsaying for 2, rearranging the top 2. He draws and plays a command tower. He moves to combat and attacks Jen with Nezahal, Cal with Trinket Mage, and Rich with Yennett. Yennett triggers, and Orin reveals a Blatant Thievery, casting it, targeting Cal's Malcolm, Jen's Jeweled Lotus, and Rich's Tymna. Rhystic triggers, and Orin pays. In response, Cal casts Muddle the Mixture, targeting Thievery. In response, Orin casts Dovin's Veto, countering Muddle. With Blatant Thievery still on the stack, Jen sacrifices her Jeweled Lotus. Also in response, Rich activates Goblin Bombardment, sacrificing Tymna, dealing 1 to Orin. Then Blatant Thievery resolves, and Orin gains control of Cal's Malcolm. Then they all take the hit, and with nothing else, Orin passes the turn. During his draw step, Cal takes a damage from his Mana Vault. He plays a Verdant Catacombs for turn. He cracks it and pays a life. In response, Orin flashes in an Archivist of Ogma. Rhystic triggers, and Orin pays. Ogma resolves, and then Cal searches the top 4 through Aven Mind Sensor. He fails to find and shuffles. Archivist triggers, and Orin gains a life and draws a card. Cal casts Wandering Archaic. Cal shifts the turn to Jen. Jen draws, and still being locked out by Mind Sensor, passes the turn. During his upkeep, Rich removes a time counter from Academy Rector. He draws and moves to combat. He attacks Jen with Tana. Jen takes it, Tana triggers, and Rich creates 2 Saproings. In his second main phase, he casts Wishclaw Talisman. Rhystic and Nezahal triggers, and Rich and Cal draw. Rich activates Wishclaw, fetching up a card into his hand and giving Wishclaw to Jen. Ogma triggers, and Orin gains a life and draws a card. Rich casts Protean Hulk. Rhystic triggers, and in response, Orin casts Pact of Negation, Wandering Archaic, and Rhystic trigger. Cal draws from Rhystic, then Cal chooses not to copy Pact. With nothing else, Pact counters Hulk, Cal draws from Rhystic, and then Rich passes the turn. During his upkeep, Orin wins his Mana Crypt roll. He also activates Soothsaying for 2, rearranging the top 2. He also pays for his Pact of Negation. He draws and moves to combat. He attacks Cal with Yennett, Malcolm, and Nezahal, and attacks Jen with Archivist and Trinket Mage. Yennett triggers, Orin reveals a Soul Guide Lantern, casting it, paying the Rhystic tax. Lantern enters, and he exiles Protean Hulk from Rich's graveyard. Then they all take it, Malcolm triggers, and Orin creates a treasure. In his second main phase, Orin activates Nezahal, discarding Elish Norn Grand Cenobite, Teferi's Protection, and Void Winnower, exiling Nezahal until the end of turn. He casts Reanimate, targeting Void Winnower, Wandering Archaic, and Rhystic trigger. Cal draws, and then Orin pays for Archaic. In response, Cal pays 2 life to cast Noxious Revival, targeting Snap in his graveyard, putting it on top of his library. Then Reanimate resolves, Void Winnower enters, and Orin loses 9 life. Sitting in a good spot, Orin passes. At the end of Orin's turn, Nezahal re-enters the battlefield. During his draw step, Cal takes a damage from his Mana Vault. He moves to combat and attacks Jen with Wandering Archaic. Jen takes it, and Cal passes the turn. Jen draws and plays an Inventor's Fair. She activates Wishclaw, searching the top 4 through Aven Mind Sensor and giving Wishclaw to Cal. Archivist of Ogma triggers, and Orin gains a life and draws a card. With nothing else, Jen passes. At the end of Jen's turn, Rich activates Goblin Bombardment, sacrificing Avacyn's Pilgrim and 2 Saprolings, targeting Cal. Cal dies, Wishclaw goes back under Rich's control, and then Cal's Malcolm leaves the battlefield. The turn moves to Rich. During his upkeep, Academy Rector's suspend trigger goes onto the stack. In response, Rich activates Wishclaw, fetching up a card into his hand and giving Wishclaw to Orin. Archivist of Ogma triggers, and in response, Rich casts Swords to Plowshares, targeting Void Winnower. Nezahal triggers, and Orin draws. Swords exiles Void Winnower, and Orin gains 11 life. Then Orin draws a card and gains a life from Archivist. Then Rich removes the final time counter from Academy Rector and casts it. Rich draws and then casts his commander, Tymna the Weaver. He moves to combat and attacks Jen with Tana. Jen takes it, Tana triggers, and Rich creates 2 Sacrilanes. In his second main phase, Rich pays a life and draws a card through Tymna. With nothing else, Rich passes. During his upkeep, Orin wins his mana crypt roll. He draws and casts Sensei's Divining Top. He activates his top, looking at and rearranging the top 3. He plays a command beacon for turn. Orin casts Expropriate. In response, Rich activates Goblin Bombardment, sacrificing Academy Rector, targeting Yennett. Academy Rector triggers, and in response, Orin activates Soul Guide Lantern, exiling each opponent's graveyard. Now, since Academy Rector can't be exiled through its ability, Academy Rector's ability fizzles. With Expropriate still on the stack, Rich activates Goblin Bombardment, sacrificing Aven Mind Sensor, Tymna, and his Saprolanes, killing Yennett. He activates Goblin Bombardment one more time, sacrificing Tana, pinging Orin for 1. Then Expropriate resolves, Orin votes time, and the other 2 vote money. Orin gets an extra turn, and then he gains control of Jen's Dwarven Mind and Rich's Guy's Cradle. Orin moves to combat and attacks Jen with Nezahal and Trinket Mage, and attacks Rich with Archivist of Ogma. They both take it, and Jen dies. All through, Orin moves to his extra turn. During his upkeep, Orin finally loses his mana crypt roll this game and takes 3 damage. He draws and activates Sensei's Divining Top, looking at and rearranging the top 3. He plays an Otawara, Soaring City as his land for turn. He moves to combat and attacks Rich with Archivist, Trinket Mage, and Nezahal. Rich takes it, and in his second main phase, Orin recasts his commander, Yennett, Cryptic Sovereign. Orin gives the turn to Rich. Rich draws and casts Dauthi Voidwalker. In response, Orin casts Mana Drain, countering Dauthi. Rich passes back to Orin. During his upkeep, Orin wins his mana crypt roll. He draws, and in his first main phase, he adds 2 colorless through Mana Drain. He casts Liliana Vess. He activates Liliana's second ability, fetching up a card onto the top of his library. He shows what the card is, which is a Nexus of Fate. Orin states he will cast Nexus through Yennett, get an extra turn, then do the same thing again through Liliana during his extra turn. He has enough damage through combat to kill Rich. So, Rich sees he is dead to attacks, concedes to Orin, and Orin wins the game. Ladies and gentlemen, what an awesome game. Congrats to Orin on his win. He showed that with good pressure and the ability to cheat spells, Yennett can be a powerhouse at the table. After his opponents were crippled through Aven Mind Sensor, he was able to apply pressure and turn that pressure into a win. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more like this, be sure to subscribe. Well, that about wraps it up for this episode. Tune in next time and we duke it out to see who will be king of the competitive EDH table. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.